percent of change is a ratio, as you can see here in both of these setups, that describes how much something has changed. It can either be a percent increase. That would be if the item has increased in size or value, or it could be a percent decrease. And that would be just the opposite. That would be if something had decreased in size or value. And the keyword here is that this is a percent. So our answers for these type of problems will be percents. Make sure that you copy down both of these different ratios, both of these different formulas. They're actually the same. They're identical. They say the same thing. This says change divided by original, and this is just another way to think of it. How would we figure out how much something has changed? Well, we'd do whatever the new amount is, take away the old amount, and original is the same thing as old, or what the old amount is. So these are the ducks in the pond near my house, and you can see that last month I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 16 ducks last month. And this month I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This month I have 20 ducks. So my first question, is this an increase or a decrease to go from 16 to 20? That's an increase. Now, either of these formulas can be used. Some students on some problems might be able to do this one in their head, but I like to use this one. It'll be up to you what you would like. So I need to figure out which of these is the new number and which is the old number. This month and last month. So this month, that would be my new number. And last month, that would be my old number. So the new number, 20, take away the old number divided by the old number. 20 take away 16 is 4, and the denominator stays the same. And 4 over 16 is going to reduce to 1/4. And then I need to remember what I said on the last page. Our answers are going to be percents. So what is 1/4 as a percent? This is a 25% increase. Now, using this other formula, the change minus the original, some students might have been able to figure out just immediately, well, what's the change? 16 to 20, that's a change of 4, and it was originally 16, so could have come up with the same thing. The big mistake that I'll see students make here is just looking at these two numbers and saying, oh, it went from 16 to 20, the answer is 4, so it must be a 4% increase. That is not correct. So we do need to know how much the item changed, which up here we figured was 4 just by looking at it, and here we did it mathematically. And then we needed to find how much, what percent of what we originally had is that. So either of these formulas will work. And if you end up with a fraction here that you don't know as a percentage, we'll have to look at that in just a moment. Okay, this is how many people attended a class last month, and this is how many people attended a class this month, that same class. Now in this one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Last month, there were 30 people. This month, that's much easier. There were only 4. So is this an increase or a decrease? The answer is decrease. Now again, some students might be able to just look at the two numbers and be able to figure out what goes where, but we're going to figure out the new and the old. So last month, this month, this must be the new number, and here's the old number. So the new number is 30. Oh, I just made my first mistake there. The new number is 4, and the old number is 30, and the old number also goes on the bottom. And when I do 4 take away 30, I'm going to see that I get a negative 26, and that makes sense. Look up here. It's a decrease, and the denominator will be 30. Now, I know I can reduce these two things. They're both even, so I can divide by 2, and that's going to give me 13 out of 15. Now, this is what I was just saying on the last page. I don't know what 13 out of 15 is as a decimal or as a percent. So I'm going to clear some space here so that I can find out. I'm going to do 13 divided by 15. I know it's not going to go in any. And then I'm going to have to do my division here of 15 goes into 130. It's not going to go in 10. It's going to have to go in less than that. I bet it will probably go in maybe 8 times. Let's see what 15 times 8 is. That's 40. And yep, that looks pretty good. So I've got 10 left over, and I'm going to need to bring that down and figure out how many times 15 will go into 100. I know it's not going to go in 10. That would be way too big. But I bet that it goes in probably maybe 6 times. Let's see what 15 times 6 is. 15 times 6, well, that's 30. 90? So if I subtract 90 from down here, let's see if I can move this up. Oh. If I subtract 90 from here, I see that I'm going to get 10 again, and I'm going to keep getting that. So if I put this, it's just going to keep going. So then we need to figure out, well, how do we write a decimal as a percent? We know that we move the decimal 2 times to the right. So I had 0.8666. This goes on forever. If I move the decimal 2 times, I'm going to get an answer of 86.6. That's where the line goes to show that it repeats. Percent decrease. Because remember, this class went from having 30 students to having only 4. So there's my answer, 86.6% decrease. Here are 2 problems that I would like you to try. Last spring there were 55 rabbits. This spring there are 143. And here there was a shirt that cost $85 and now it costs $36. So here are 2 problems that I would like for you to try on your own. And here's one more thing we can do with percent of change. What is 300 increased by 8%? And then I've got the problem over here, what is 300 decreased by 8%? The reason I'm showing both of these problems on the same page is because they're done almost identically. So the first thing I'm going to do is change 8% into a decimal, and I do that by moving my decimal point 2 times. So I'm actually talking about the number 0.08. So I'm going to do 300 times 0.08, 0, 0, 24. And the decimal goes 2 places in. So if my number was 300 and it's being increased by 24, my new number is 324. Over here on this other side, what is 300 decreased by 8%? It would look exactly the same. First, I need to change 8%, 1, 2, into a decimal. Then I would need to do 300 times 0.08. and put the decimal in. Now the only difference is that what is 300 decreased by 8%? Well, I have to decrease it by that 24. So instead of 300 plus 24, I'm doing 300 minus 24. But take a moment to look and see that all of the other steps are exactly the same. So then when I do my subtraction, I find that my answer is 276. On this website, you will get a SMART score. You'll see it on the side of the screen by answering questions about percentage of change. This is one where you can definitely use a calculator to answer the questions faster because you'll be using this formula, the new minus the old divided by the old. And so if you're given a question, I'm totally fine with you using a calculator to plug those in really quickly to come up with the answer. The website tinyurl.com/Carnes P of C, which stands for percent of change.